Coming up on Tech News today, look, Netflix is really sorry about what they did to you. The Qwikster thing, they feel stupid about it. They're going to change it all. So please, come back. Also, Facebook finally releases their iPad app and Windows 8 gets faster. That and more coming up next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Monday, October 10th, 2011. Tech News Today is brought to you by Slingbox, which just turned your iPad into a television. Slingbox has a new iPad app, so now you can watch your home TV on your iPad anywhere you take it. Check it out at Best Buy or slingbox.com/twit. And by Vast Conference, the ultimate in professionalism, clarity, and flexibility for your conference calls, all at a low price. For 2 Vast Conference calls free with no commitment, go to vastconference.com, use promo code TNT. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
And Jason Howell is off being Androidy down at the O'Reilly conference in San Francisco. They'll be doing all about Android from the conference.
Yeah, following the show, isn't that right?
Following Frame Rate, which is on a special new night.
And I'm actually on it.
And with special new
awesome.
guests. Yeah. Also joining us today, editor-in-chief of Mashable.com, Mr. Lance Ulanoff. You got a new job since we last had you on the show.
That's right. It's been about 4 weeks since I joined Mashable.com as editor-in-chief. It's been a crazy 4 weeks, but good. Great place, great group of people, exciting website. So it's been a fun ride already.
Yeah, congratulations on the new job. And wow, you didn't have a lack of news to usher you into your first month there, did you?
I've had like 3 live blogs, F8, iPhone 4S, Amazon Kindle Fire, of course, the unfortunate news about Steve Jobs. It has been sort of a trial by fire. I mean, I've been doing this a really long time, so it's not like I haven't been through different things kind of like this, but never anything exactly like this, even just in this string of stuff. And yet here I am still standing and still able to talk about it.
And we got more stuff to talk about today. Netflix put up a blog posting from Reed Hastings today announcing that, quote, "It is clear that for many of our members, 2 websites would make things more difficult, so we are going to keep Netflix as one place to go for streaming and DVDs. This means no change. 1 website, 1 account, 1 password. In other words, no Qwikster."
So this is what many people were hoping would happen. But the fact that we had to go through this really complicated story that then was reversed.
Many people were hoping it never would have happened.
Is unfortunate because I feel like I'm just confused as to if Netflix is confused. You know what I mean?
Oh,
that didn't make sense.
Netflix. It's not Netflix that's confused. I think it's the leadership there. I mean, Reed Hastings. Wow. I don't know what's going on there, but don't forget all the stuff that led up to this. How did we get here? Qwikster was like the gigantic Band-Aid that Netflix tried to put on its sort of continuing disaster from the moment it announced it was going to split up, the pricing structure of streaming and DVD delivery, and that was sort of the thing, the catalyst for all of this, and they just didn't seem to know how to respond. I mean, how many apology blog posts is Reed Hastings going to post?
I think we're done now, right? I can't think of anything else he's got to apologize for.
Oh, I strongly doubt that we are done.
What else has he got? What has he got up his sleeve?
Well, there'll be the apology to board members, to customers as he walks out the door.
Ah, so you think he's on his way out, eh?
I think he's got to be. At some point, there's that thing about when you're driving a car and you get rear-ended once and you're like, bad luck. Second time, really bad luck. Third time, it's your fault. You're doing something wrong. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is a string of serious missteps by the leadership at Netflix. Reed Hastings is the leadership, and someone's got to take the fall. And I hate to say it, but I think that it's got to be him. And I don't even know if that's going to solve Netflix's problems because they're so fundamental right now.
I think this is the right thing for them to do, to be honest. And he's going to take slings and arrows, deservedly so, because the Qwikster decision was bad. But I do think that this is the right thing to say, you know what? We're listening to the audience. The audience is inflamed. We're losing people. This is not a good idea. I think the reason they did Qwikster was not as an apology, but because they wanted to eventually split these companies into two, and they thought it would be easier if they changed the name and separated the accounts. And they're right, it would be easier. But I think they finally realized this is hurting the business more than it's helping it down the road. And Reed made a brave decision, in a way, to say, you know what, I was absolutely wrong. We're not going to change the price structure, but we're going to get rid of Qwikster. Anybody who signed up for Qwikster, you're now a Netflix customer, one website. I take it all back. And I think that will help. They're
still on track for game rentals, so at least they're a little more ahead.
That's right, yeah.
Than they were before.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's going to start using them for game rentals. And, you know, they still have the core problem is that they don't have enough money. And when I say they don't have enough money, yes, they're a business that is making money. I get that. Mm-hmm. But what can't Netflix do? They cannot get studios to sign up with them because they can't make a deal. Starz is obviously the most emblematic case, but there aren't other studios marching over with theatrical movie releases. Right now, the studios see this streaming business as a ghetto that they don't really control, and so they're willing to give you cable TV shows, but they will not put first-run, movies, basically movies that when they hit DVDs, they would also hit the streaming service. They simply won't do it. And Netflix can't afford to pay the amount of money that these studios want to pay. They got into trouble in the first place because they were successful. They started delivering so many streams that they broke the caps that they had agreed upon, and then when they tried to renegotiate, the studios were like, well, it's going to cost you a lot more money. And Reed Hastings knew this. He talked about it. But I think he soft-pedaled the problem when he split those two, when he split the pricing up, essentially doubling the price for some people. This was to make enough money to make new deals.
That and now their only chance, I think, is to get acquired. And I think that was part of the Qwikster plan, too, was to say, look, we'll split these apart. Now somebody who doesn't want to get in the DVD business might buy the Netflix streaming business. It's going to be a harder pill to swallow for someone to acquire that combined business. Not that it wouldn't happen, but that seems to be the only way left for them to get a cash infusion, which you're right, they do need. I mean, they're making good deals, but they're not making the spectacular deal they need to really catch people's attention.
Yep.
Let's move on to other sales news. Yahoo has dropped out of the Hulu sweepstakes. I think it was kind of odd for them to be considering buying Hulu at a time when they're considering selling themselves. But Wall Street Journal reports that Yahoo is no longer bidding. That leaves Dish Network, Google, and Amazon all still interested. Dish's bid of $1.9 billion is believed to be of most interest to Hulu. Google is willing to pay more at $2 billion, but they require certain conditions that Hulu isn't really wild about agreeing to. According to the Wall Street Journal, the board of directors is still unsure if they want to sell the company at all. So this could just end up in nothing.
Yeah, and Hulu could end up in nothing as more and more of those networks go, what do I need Hulu for? I can make my own service. I've got video on demand with every cable company out there. I got it through Apple TV. I need Hulu exactly for what? And, Google wouldn't be a good partner because they can't make any deals. Look at what happened with Google TV. They couldn't make the deals with the networks to deliver content.
Although Google's got the cash, if Hulu's got the negotiating expertise, maybe that's a good marriage.
Well, it's a good marriage for the cash. I mean, somebody's going to make a lot of money, but I don't think it's going to be a good business. It's not going to be a good service unless you can find a way to Hulu comes from the other side of the Netflix problem, right? They've established themselves really well because they weren't interested in movies. They had TV shows. That's been going well. They will never offer movies, but meanwhile, they've got some issues with the TV shows that kind of remind me a little bit of the Netflix issues. The companies that own this stuff are suddenly going, well, wait a minute, why are we letting this other service control our streams? Why don't we control it? These aggregators are running into real problems. And it's a very interesting area to look at, but I have a feeling that a year from now, we're going to be going, remember when people wanted to buy Hulu? They don't want to anymore.
Yeah, I have a feeling the board of directors may just end up not selling it because they want to stay in control. Because the real problem here isn't really Netflix or Hulu. The real problem is the studios not wanting to give up control of the distribution because they still want to sell DVDs. They still want to put people in the theaters, and they still want to have you watch on television. It's silly to me that they haven't figured out a system to count your eyeballs where it doesn't matter where you see it, but that's the way it is.
But then at the same time, it's like if you're paying for particularly Hulu Plus, I mean, you've still got ads, and now you have, if it's your favorite Fox show, instead of watching it the day after, it's, what, 8 days later?
Yeah.
I mean, that's that's a
just
hard
long enough
sell
that you
to a
can
customer
never
as
catch
well.
up.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, Yahoo is possibly going to take themselves off the market entirely. Jerry Yang reportedly pursuing deals with private equity firms, according to Reuters, that would take Yahoo private. Yang and co-founder David Filo would have to roll over their shares in that instance, but reportedly they've been talking to Silver Lake Partners, Providence Equity Partners, Hellman & Friedman, and Bain Capital. Bloomberg reported last week that Alibaba is in talks with Silver Lake Partners and Digital Sky Technologies to file a joint bid for Yahoo. And of course, we discussed on Tech News today Alibaba's Jack Ma saying he'd be interested in buying Yahoo outright. Talks are reportedly informal. This is all just kind of nosing around and getting a scent. But what would be the advantage of Jerry Yang taking Yahoo private again? Because he would have to roll over his shares. So it's not like he gets to be the big cheese. In fact, they wouldn't even necessarily have to keep him on the payrolls.
I don't know. It's a last-ditch effort to try and say. I mean, Yahoo has some good stuff. They have some good businesses. I mean, really, what they ought to do is not go private. They should break it up into parts, sell the various parts to various people. Save Flickr, save Yahoo Small Business, save Yahoo Finance, but give them to different companies that sort of have that vertical alignment and can do something with them. There's a lot of eyeballs there. I just don't think Yahoo is going to be able to survive this way because they can't seem to figure out how to manage it and support all this stuff. If they get their wish and they go private like this, I think that just more bad things will happen, but you won't be able to see them as clearly.
There's been a lot of talk from inside Yahoo that Jerry Yang had really been very hands-off for a long time, and then Carol Bartz is out, and now Jerry Yang's back and obviously doing his best to try to figure out what his best option is for the company and for himself. I just don't, I don't think he really has a chance keeping Yahoo the way it is. It's just a mess.
One of the scenarios that was played out in these Reuters stories was a buyer selling off Yahoo's international assets, including their partnership with SoftBank on Yahoo Japan, their 40% stake in Alibaba, which Jack Ma is dying to get his hands back on, according to Bloomberg. Alibaba is in talk with Temasek Holdings in Singapore to raise the cash to buy back that 40%. So what they could do is sell off all of that international stuff, take that cash, pay down their debts, and then reconsolidate as a domestic enterprise and try to build back up from there. But that's really downsizing Yahoo, right?
It is. They're going to and the downsizing won't stop there. After they sell off those assets, they're going to have to take a really hard look at their domestic assets, and they're going to cut back, and things are going to get hurt, downsized, shuttered. I mean, we already had enough stuff that was closed down on the Bart's reign, and Jerry Yang clearly doesn't know how to manage the sort of monster that he helped to build. I just don't see this way. I certainly don't see a clear path for them. I've got to imagine that some people are talking to them about these various pieces, but the only question there obviously is, do any of them lose something like Yahoo Finance or Small Business? Do they lose something if they don't have the Yahoo name? I don't think so, because by the way, don't forget, Yahoo Small Business manages the domains for millions of customers. That's a pretty good business right there.
Yeah, they have brand recognition. They have some good, solid businesses. It's just that they haven't been growing. They've been declining. Yep. Somebody's got to be able to turn that around.
I think Flickr would do better without Yahoo attached to it.
You might think so. I mean, Flickr has been sort of declining itself.
I hope not.
Yeah,
I love Flickr. It's like I'm actually a pro member of Flickr. And,
I am too.
I'm very nervous about it going away and moving all of my photos. And I don't think that Picasa, if you've used that, it's not as good a service. I'm sorry, it's just not. And it's kind of a mishmash because they kind of slam it together with Picnic, which sort of works okay, but Picnic is a little clunky. And Flickr has a tremendous community. So I just hope that someone buys it.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little more about the Facebook iPad app that finally came out. This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Slingbox. Just in time for the holidays, Slingbox introducing the new iPad app. Now you can watch your home TV on your iPad anywhere you take it. You can find Slingbox or see a demo at Best Buy. Check it out at slingbox.com/twit. This is a good time of year to use a Slingbox, frankly, because there may be some sort of sporting event that you can get on your home television that you cannot get over the internet. But if you got Slingbox, you can get it over the internet on your computer, on your tablet, on your phone, wherever you have an internet connection, anywhere in the world. None of your programming is blacked out because you're paying for it. It's your programming. You get to broadcast it back to you. So check it out, slingbox.com/twit. Slingbox on your home TV, appearing on iPads everywhere. Well, that was interesting. There was no press conference. There was no big to-do. Just suddenly at 1 o'clock, all the embargoes lifted. Everybody started reporting that an iPad app was out. We started feverishly refreshing pages to see it show up in the App Store. Finally, at one point, Iyaz said, it's there. And we all went and ran and downloaded it. We've both been playing with it here. What do you think, Sarah?
Well, okay. So this is the app that everyone knew was coming. It was just a matter of time. I mean, at this point,
apparently it's been around for a year.
Exactly. I mean, no fanfare needed, frankly. Just roll the darn thing out because it's obviously been done and just sort of sitting there. It's very nice. You've got...
It's a nice app.
Yeah, the left navigation panel that's good for to be able to get to your newsfeed and your messages and various pages and apps that you might be associated with. I'm trying to find an app that will open nicely within Facebook. None of the apps that I subscribe to besides Facebook's native Messenger app actually will do that.
Well, that's the thing is that you do have apps in here now. Yeah. Some games are HTML5 optimized. That's what you're looking for right now. Other apps take you to the native app. So like if you have Words with Friends, instead of leaving you in the iPad app, it'll actually take you to your Words with Friends app, and you can play your Facebook friends there. And then if you don't have Words with Friends, but you have the app in Facebook, it will take you to the App Store, and you can download it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've got all sorts of apps that I have, you can see on the left-hand side, connected to Facebook. But if it won't take me directly, it'll just take me directly to the app that I may or may not have downloaded, and it crashes, like iPad apps tend to do every once in a while.
That's iPad app's new trick is crashing regularly, though no one really wants to talk about it. This app apparently looks pretty much exactly the same as the leaked app that we saw over the summer, which you had to do a bunch of work to sort of make it show up on your iPad until I guess they changed something so it went away. As far as the lack of hoopla, Mashable had an exclusive story about this app and the fact that it was coming, and our insiders had told us it was coming with the iPhone 4S announcement. It was going to be at the same time. Obviously, a lot of things changed at Apple in the probably 72 hours leading up to that event. And the event was kind of a very different sort of thing with Steve Jobs being as ill as he was at that time. And, when we were talking here at the Mashable office about, well, why was there no hoopla? No one is having any hoopla about any announcement this week.
Well, obviously, Samsung canceled their announcement tomorrow, right?
That's right. That's right, and I think that's great. That's a great show of respect. I mean, obviously, this is for the Apple product, and it's in a way it's interesting because the app is going to end up speaking for itself. Probably doesn't need all the hoopla to do quite well. I know as a Facebook user and knowing many Facebook users, they've been waiting for this. They've been hoping for it. So I expect it's going to get a tremendous number of downloads in the next 24 hours.
Well, Facebook has been the #1 iPhone app for, seems like since the beginning. Maybe part of the reason why there wasn't a lot of hoopla also, is that it's not actually done. I mean, it is done, but as far as having a ticker, which would help.
Right. They're saying the ticker's coming.
Let me know what kind of apps you're using. It's very app focused, so it's like I need something like that, for discovery. Also, the new timelines, they're not part of our profiles yet.
Right. Although those aren't officially launched for people
exactly.
anyway.
But there is stuff to do yet.
Yeah. They also made several improvements to the mobile website at m.facebook.com. You'll see simplified navigation, faster search, access to more games and apps there as well. And they said a new Android app is on its way. I imagine they'll probably have a new one. They're hoping to have a new one with Ice Cream Sandwich would be my guess. So you can experience new Facebook stuff even if you don't have the app, even if you're not on iOS. You can go to the mobile site and check that out. Pre-orders for the iPhone 4S set a one-day record, according to Apple. On pre-order day, they sold more than 1 million units in the first 24 hours. That's compared to 600,000 of the iPhone 4. So I've been saying since that announcement, even as sort of humdrum as it was because of the conditions that we now know they were operating under, that announcement reminded me of the iPhone 3GS. Not a huge jump, but enough to get people excited. And I'm like, it's going to sell. And it looks like it's going to sell. And Gadget Report's shipping notifications started going out today. Sprint, right before showtime, still was saying that they had a couple of models of iPhone available. Now Sprint has gone and said, we're sold out too. Everybody's sold out of the iPhone 4. So if you order one now, it's going to be a little while. I think October 24th is the date I saw.
I thought it was 21st, but
I just checked again and I got 24th.
Oh, okay.
And it sounds like, people have made their decision about whether or not they're going to wait for the iPhone 5. And they're like, nope, I'm going to get that 4S. So, the internals do sound like they are a whole lot faster. I mean, faster performance on the phone because of the A5 chip, and then faster performance for download. I mean, for mobile data consumers, the download speeds supposedly are twice as fast. And a couple of leaked videos that we saw show some benchmark numbers that may support that. So I think people got excited about that. I've always said I have no problem with the current iPhone 4 design, so I'm happy that they kept the design with the 4S. Of course, I sadly bought my 4S over the summer, so I'm like trapped in a bit of a contract now.
Oh, you bought the 4 over the summer, so you can't get the 4S, huh?
Yeah. I was just looking. They said, well, I can get it if I want to pay full price. The note that I saw the other day said that I am eligible for an upgrade discount in 2013.
Hey.
Gee,
thanks. Yeah.
May we all survive through 2012 so that you can get your update.
Tom and I think you, after Apple's announcement last week, I think you and I both agreed. We both have iPhone 4s. Although the 4S, the camera sounds great.
Yeah.
Faster is better. It's not something that we're compelled to buy right off the bat. I do think, though, that these 1 million units in the first 24 hours does have a lot to do with the sentimental timing.
Yeah, I don't want to be crass, but I understand what you're saying, which is it's not that it's some sort of commercial thing.
I think that there was a real incentive for people maybe to stay up till 3 a.m. and put that pre-order down.
I did wonder, well, there were two things. Obviously, there was a rumor, which I do not think is founded, but it was kind of, I understood the intention, that the phone was named for Steve, 4S for Steve. That was one idea. But I do believe that some people may have gone ahead and ordered this because there's a belief that this was the last product that Steve Jobs was truly hands-on with. So everything after this is going to be more like his ideas. It's going to, further and further away from his influence. But this product is special. It's like almost a commemorative product.
Yeah, I don't think the phone was named for Steve. I think that's.
I don't think so either.
The 3GS wasn't named for Steve either. But I do think, and I think probably the majority of the million sales were people who were going to buy it anyway. I think Sarah's right that there's sort of a boost there, a small effect of people who are like, thinking this is the last phone that Steve Jobs directly worked on,
right?
And there may be a little bit of sentimentality
to rush out and be part of the first wave.
Yeah, not to say that it wasn't going to sell like hotcakes anyway, because I think it absolutely would have. Windows 8 going to reduce the memory footprint. Bill Karagunis, Group Program Manager for Microsoft's Performance Team, posted a blog post today talking about the memory improvements. Memory combining search system RAM for duplicate content frees up the duplicates to hold just a single copy. So if a program goes out there and requests more than it needs, and then you find out that it's got duplicate requests, Windows will clear that up. Microsoft has removed 13 different services so that when you start up Windows, you don't have a ton of hungry memory-eating services running there. Changed a number of others from automatic to manual so that you turn them on if you need them, and moved others into a start-on-demand mode so that they're not eating up the memory right all the time when they aren't needed. They actually, the processes spawn when you need them. They consolidated various core low-level components and said that they've made Windows 8 smarter about which allocated memory to keep and which to free up so that you don't slow down your system because memory isn't there and it was freed up when it shouldn't have been, but you're not just keeping memory locked up by other programs, which has been a huge issue for Windows for years.
Yeah, it's, I mean, they've got to do stuff like this if we're going to have it run on ARM devices. You know, it's got to be as lean and mean as possible. It's so funny, though, to see those screens and see sort of good old-fashioned Windows still under there cooking away. You know, I don't know exactly what they mean about starting and you know, manually starting services because, I mean, while I know how to do that, average users don't want to have anything to do with that. So how is that going to sort of present itself? You know, is it going to be all in the background, or is the user going to occasionally see a message, hey, would you like to, you know, change, you know, how your system performs? Hit this button. So, you know, in the Windows 8 system I'm running here, I haven't seen anything like that. Of course, I call that system sort of this Sybil system because it's got those two interfaces going.
Right.
But I mean, it's a very good intention because, you know, certainly you want it to be faster. You want it to be smarter about memory resources. You know, we often say that, you know, when things slow down or they start crashing, that something is not released the memory. You know, it's holding it for whatever reason. Certain apps are bad actors in Windows. And so if it can be the cop that takes care of that and makes them release the memory and clean it up, so and also clear out those duplicates, this could be a very good thing, but it has to be seamless for me.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's a bunch of user access notification type stuff popping up in the demo that they've got out right now. They also did a comparison on the netbook that Sinofsky used at the Build conference, found that under Windows 7, it was using 404 megabytes of the available RAM, while under Windows 8, it used only 281. Of course, those are Microsoft's numbers, but that's a significant difference. I'd like to see those tested out, but you know, it's at least a hopeful indication that Windows would be much less RAM intensive, and if you don't have a lot of RAM, you would actually be able to get a lot out of it, even on one of those netbook-like situations. I agree with you, Lance. More of a problem for me is the split personality going on there between the Metro interface and the regular Windows interface.
Yeah, just that's completely insane. I don't think that'll survive. I imagine they'll do something to fix that. You know, by the way, you know, when you look at Windows 8, I think it's important to look at the future. Because I don't think Windows is going to be the platform on sort of really light systems like netbooks and tablets. I really and truly don't. What I think is it's going to be the system that runs on like the laptop I've got right now, which have a lot more resources and are going to make hay with the extra resources that Windows 8 will give it. So it's going to be a much better operating system for getting things done. I just don't know if it's going to be the operating system that really flies on our tablets. I almost feel like we've got two different markets going now.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look at the news fuse now. RIM faces another black eye as BlackBerry service failed across Europe, the Middle East, and Africa starting at 11 a.m. local time today, just what you needed on a Monday morning, right? Leaving BlackBerry users unable to make anything but calls and send text messages. That's right, no BlackBerry Messenger, no BlackBerry email, no web surfing. Telcos in the area pointed the finger at RIM in posts on Twitter. RIM said some people were affected, they sincerely apologized, and they were working on it. BBC now reporting that email services have been restored, but if you go to BlackBerry or UK_BlackBerry for status, nothing has been posted there yet, but hopefully by the time you hear this as a podcast, everything will be fixed.
The black eye will be all healed. Andy Lee's talked about the future
Walked into a door again, Rim.
Poor Rim. Always falling down the stairs. Andy Lee's talked about the future of Windows phones with All Things D. And Lee says LTE will come to Windows Phone handsets when LTE becomes more power efficient. As for dual-core phones, Lee says it expects those when more software will be ready to take advantage of more cores. He was also quick to talk up current gen devices since he obviously wants you to buy them. Lee says he suspects that single-core Windows phones will be faster in usage than any dual-core phone you can put against it.
Reports are that Sony Pictures have obtained the rights to Walter Isaacson's upcoming biography of Steve Jobs. That's according to the blog Deadline New York. Mark Gordon, producer of Saving Private Ryan, would be on board to produce. But who's going to play Steve Jobs? The name bandied about in most of these blog posts is Noah Wyle, because he's done it a couple times, once in the movie Pirates of Silicon Valley and again on stage at Macworld 1999. Who would be your pick, Lance, to play Steve Jobs in the movie?
Oh, gosh, that's tough. You know, I once played Steve Jobs.
You would pick yourself.
Last year, Halloween, I went to Steve Jobs. It took very little for me to turn into him.
Black turtleneck and some jeans, huh?
I had the turtleneck. I made a little iPod for myself, but I can't act. So, who would be good? I'm not sure. I'm not sure of. The problem is if they put somebody like Leonardo DiCaprio, right? It'd be too much. Like you can't have somebody with that kind of personality. They have to have this kind of sometimes almost quiet intensity. He was magnetic, but he was magnetic in a way that at first you wouldn't expect it.
Bryan Cranston, somebody in the chat room said.
Bryan Cranston, too old. You need somebody now. He
somebody who can play all parts of the story.
Actors, because I mean, he obviously looked very different depending on what era we're talking about.
That's true, and they would. Oh, you know what? Batman. What's his name?
Christian Bale.
Yes, Christian Bale, who can transform himself.
I think you're gonna love it. Into the iPod.
That's
he wouldn't be Batman.
Oh,
in this
he
movie.
wouldn't have to talk like that. Okay.
Just acting range.
He wouldn't talk like he needs a throat lozenge the whole time.
All right, moving on. Google introduced Dart, at least in preview form today. Google calls it a language for structured web programming. And if you use Dart, your code can run in a virtual machine, or you can use a compiler to turn your Dart code into JavaScript. There's no Dart VM in Chrome, at least not yet. The first tools are already available at dartlang.org, so dartlang.org, and they're open source.
Microsoft's taking a solid lead in the game console sales, and as expected, that's bad news for Nintendo. The company sold 360,000 Xbox 360s in the month of September, according to Wedbush Securities analyst Michael Pachter. PS3 came in second with 260,000, and Nintendo only moved 190,000 Wiis. How far they have fallen.
Tennessee Governor Bill Haslam announced that Amazon would start collecting sales tax in the state in 2013 unless a national solution is addressed first. The governor said he'd work with Amazon to try to find a national solution as well. Amazon will bring 3,500 full-time jobs with benefits to Tennessee, as well as 2,000 seasonal jobs.
Go
That's a
Vols.
lot of jobs.
RIM will update some of its phones with a new NFC-based data sharing feature called BlackBerry Tag. Tag will come to the BlackBerry Bold 9900, the 9930, as well as the Curve 9350, and its variants. Users will be able to bump together their handsets to share photos, links, contacts, and add each other to BlackBerry Messenger quickly.
And bump them together so they work in the Middle East. That's how they'll
just keep
doing that.
hitting, and the email will come back.
This week, Motorola Mobility's 3LM wants to make Android more enterprise-friendly. 3LM solution will encrypt all of your data on an Android device, allow for enterprise resource access, and is designed to secure data from any Android application. 3LM says that out of the box, its software works with 300,000 apps, a lot of apps. Businesses can either run 3LM server software or buy a hosted service by 3LM, although pricing not announced yet.
Wall Street Journal reports Google and SonicNet will hand over emails of WikiLeaks volunteer Jacob Appelbaum to the United States government. The companies resisted handing over the data, but the U.S. obtained a secret court order forcing them to comply. Appelbaum's emails are part of the ongoing investigation of WikiLeaks, although there are no charges against Mr. Appelbaum. He just gets harassed every time he leaves the country or tries to come back. Let's check in on the randomizer.
randomizer.
Ah, this is what I like to see. Simpler and more affordable 3D printers moving out of the kit stage into the Apple II IBM PC type stage where you just buy
so I don't need
the
a big old
thing.
maker bot?
Yeah. The $800 Origo.
Wow, look at that thing. It's, well, I actually don't know how tiny it is, but
It's
it
aimed at
looks like
10-year-olds.
those toys are really small.
Reminds me of like when you could make shrinky dinks. Do you remember those things? You just put them in the oven, like cook them up. You know, it's like you're getting these, you know, they start flat and they get thicker. So, you know, being able to make these little physical objects out of something from your computer, I think that's a cool, especially if it's about the size of a easy bake oven.
Japanese company Roland DG has found a hook for theirs. Their 3D printer is called the iModella IMO1, and it is made specifically to print kids' toys. So you can print little figurines, little toy things. Yeah, it's around $1,000, so it's kind of an expensive toy machine, but it's endless toys.
Well, but you still also need to buy the materials for the toys.
Yeah, I don't know how much the materials cost.
Depends on the toy, I guess.
Yeah.
Isn't it like some sort of like plastic? I'm trying to remember.
It's a vinyl, I think.
Right. And then it, you know, so I guess it's like so your own little factory.
Yeah, print your own choking hazards.
That's right. Hey kids, step right up.
Anyway, the iModella, I love this stuff. It's not going to be for everybody. It's not going to be massively successful yet. But I do like the fact that we're getting some consumer-oriented 3D printing. That means it's making progress into the mainstream.
Well, and if stuff like this can be bought by consumers, then, as we've talked about in the past, little pieces to fix a washing machine or to somehow create tools for your homes, that's possible too, and that's exciting.
Let's take a quick break before the calendar and thank our other sponsor, Vast Conference. If you want to be professional with a conference call, you don't want to be sitting there, trying to exchange 5 or 6 different phone numbers, but you also don't want to be paying out the wazoo for some high-level conferencing system that's meant for huge enterprises with thousands and thousands of employees. So check out Vast Conference. They give you a dial-in number. You just give that out to everybody. Everybody calls in, puts in the code. You manage the conference call from the web if you want to be able to mute people and kick people out, move people in and out. Clear connections, large calls. You can manage call participants online, and it is affordable and advanced. Many conference calls have about 3 to 5 participants, so Vast supports up to 300 callers at once. Should be enough for your conference. And they record everything as an MP3. We use it here, actually, for our weekly production meetings. We were trying to use Skype, but, man, everybody's falling off Skype, and then you have to call them back and conference them in. It just does not work. Vast comes with a friendly, enthusiastic customer service team as well, and the pricing for this conference service is low. You pay as you go, 2.5 cents per minute per call, per attendee, and 6 cents per minute if you want to do an 800 number. You decide whether to give out the regular call-in or the toll-free number each time you make a conference. You don't have to set up a lot. It's so easy to use. Check them out, vastconference.com. Be sure to use the promo code TNT, and you'll get 2 conference calls free that you can try out the service, see if you like it. Once again, vastconference.com. Use the promo code TNT. We thank them for their support and for their help in doing our production meetings, among other things. Yeah. Let's check out the calendar.
I was that person who kept getting dumped off the Skype call, so I'm excited about this Wednesday's staff meeting. On the calendar, who really cares about the Facebook app when you have the Cyanogen Mod 7.0 Run release today? That's right, with a bunch of new devices supported as well. CTIA, the Apps and Enterprise conference, kicks off in San Diego. Even though Samsung has delayed their big announcement, CTIA is rolling on as usual. Samsung's Stratosphere is landing on Verizon October 13th, LTE and a QWERTY keyboard for 150 bones. T-Mobile Galaxy S2 pre-orders begin today, and they should land in stores Wednesday, October 12th. Acer's Aspire S3 Ultrabooks arrive in the U.S. October 16th with a price tag of $900. The Motorola Spider will be introduced on October 18th. It's a big week for introductions. They've released a little teaser video that's kind of funny. It kind of has it all: cars, guns, women.
It's like an action movie.
The number 42, just no actual visuals of the phone. So you don't know what the phone looks like yet. Apple's planning a celebration of Steve Jobs' life on October 19th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. We know this because Tim Cook actually sent out an internal email to all Apple employees to plan for an event in the outdoor amphitheater of Apple's Infinite Loop campus in Cupertino.
Now, this is an Apple event, not a public event. This
Exactly.
is just for Apple employees.
An Apple event, but he did make sure to say, listen, employees that won't be able to make it, we'll figure out something for you as well. So they definitely want to include Apple employees globally. And finally, the Linux Foundation announced today that the first ever automotive Linux summit will take place in Japan on November 28th, 2011.
Nice.
How about that?
Well, you know what? Linux has been in the car for quite a while, so it's about time that they have
It's time for a
some sort of-
summit,
Yeah.
man.
Let's check what's incoming.
Incoming message.
First one is a phone call, a voice message mail thingy about Verizon and Sprint's LTE phones.
Hey, I know you guys aren't experts on phones, but you're really smart. And with Sprint switching over to LTE, I'm on Sprint, so I'm wondering, do you think I could buy an unlocked Verizon phone with LTE in it and just use it as 3G right now? Then when LTE is on Sprint, I would already have a phone that I would want to use. Do you have any thoughts on that? Thanks. Love the show.
Sadly, the answer is no, because 700 megahertz spectrum is what Verizon does use for their LTE, and Sprint is using, I think it's the 800, 900, and 1600 spectrum. So there's a definite maybe to the idea someday of a phone being able to support all of those different spectra. But yeah, unfortunately, just because everybody's using LTE does not mean everybody's going to be using the same bands of LTE. So we can still have incompatibility between all the carriers.
Hooray.
Hooray. On to the emails.
All right. Email from Josh Dill. Hey, TNT crew. I was just reviewing the tidal wave of information regarding the new iPhone, iCloud, and iOS 5 announcements yesterday. One thought that struck me as odd was the fact that Apple offers 16 gig, 32 gig, and now 64 gig iPhones, even after the introduction of iCloud. My question, why would anybody pay the extra money for more internal storage on an iPhone where you can get 50 gigabytes of iCloud storage for $100 per year? Unless you're planning on loading on a lot of apps, doesn't it make more sense to buy the 16 gig model and then stream your media content from the cloud? I understand data caps might be a concern. It makes perfect sense to me when you're on Wi-Fi. More of a no-brainer for the iPod Touch. What do you think?
What do you think, Lance? I mean, I have my own thoughts on this, but should we rely on the iCloud yet?
I mean, I love the idea of the iCloud. The cloud-based services are one of my favorite things about Chromebooks. But they had the answer right in that question. The apps. I mean, people will still be buying lots and lots of apps. A lot of people are upgrading from one iPhone to another. They're just going to migrate their apps. They have them. Whatever they've bought. They tend to have a lot of apps on their devices. They take up space. Videos, yes. You can stream a lot of content, but people are actually still buying TV shows and watching them in places where they don't have consistent Wi-Fi and they don't have consistent 3G, and they also may be worried about data caps. So I'll see a lot of people on the train watching TV shows. And by the way, those TV shows are fat. They take up a lot of space. So if you get an 8 gigabyte device, you're going to be done with after like a few shows, like 4 shows, and almost all of your storage space is gone. So storage is cheap. Ultimately, it's cheap. And if you can afford it, I always say go for it. But looking forward into the future, yeah. Where the fat pipe's eventually going to be available everywhere. Cloud is going to be where it's at. You'll have less and less, fewer and fewer things stored on there. The apps will get lighter and they'll get more services from the cloud. So, yeah, but not now. Not now.
All I'll add to that is I have never had a single device yet in my life where I sat there and went, wow, I really don't need all this storage. It's always been the opposite. I always run up against a limit of like, oh wow, I'm already running out of space. I can't believe this.
Well, I think I'm just, I don't know. I'm more organizational than the two of you then, because I'm always like, why do I even have all of this room on my iPad?
You're not taking best advantage of it, are you?
I don't watch nearly enough video, or I clean it out too often or something. I see where Josh is coming from. If you're interested in using cloud services to their full capacity, I think you can absolutely get away with, at least staying at your current gigabyte iPhone or even going down. But then you're all relying on the cloud, and that's not what everybody wants to do.
Just for me, there's never enough storage. I just bought a 2 terabyte NAS, okay? I always want more storage.
Lance and I are e-hoarders, though, so you have to take that into account.
That's right. I'm buried under it. You just can't see it, but I'm living in digital filth.
Code Monkey X called me that in the chat room.
It's like, forget that hard partying Bravo reality show. There should be a show for e-hoarders.
What's in this folder? Why do you have these Word documents from 1997?
Yes.
You don't need these. You have to let them go.
Delete.
No.
Why do you have a GIF of a dead cat? I don't understand. All right. That's it for this edition of Tech News Today, and not too soon. Thanks, everybody, on our Reddit, technewstoday.reddit.com. Folks like Draconos, DM Max, Captain Kipper, Oni Kitsune, Sky Jedi, Canuck, and more submitted stories. You can go there and let us know what stories you'd like to hear us talk about on the show. We use this to help us decide what goes into the show. Thank you, Lance Ulanoff, for joining us again. Really happy to have you back. And congratulations once again on your new gig at Mashable.
Oh, thank you so much, and thanks for having me. I had a great time as always.
And you've got amongst other things, you've got a story on Reed Hastings coming out this evening. People should take a look at.
Absolutely. Talking about is it time for Reed Hastings to step down? So take a look at Mashable. It should be up later tonight.
That's it for us. Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. You can find us on the web at twit.tv/TNT. You can email us. Our email address is tnt@twit.tv. Or give us a call. Our phone number is 260-TNT-SHOW. We have Jason Heiner from Tech Republic on the show tomorrow. We'll see you then. Chicka bow.
Bow, chicka bow, bow.
Brown chicken, brown cow.
Show's over, everybody.